The importance of maintaining a local military presence underscored. Government seeking to have an entrepreneur in every Barbadian home. And meeting the commitment to reducing premature mortality from chronic non-communicable diseases by 2025 is at risk.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you with the Friday, November 2nd edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom. In our top story, Attorney General Dale Marshall says the threats the island faces are multidimensional and give enough reason to maintain military organizations. Now, he was speaking during a medals ceremony at the Barbados Defense Forces St. Anne's headquarters this morning. He was accompanied by Acting Prime Minister George Payne, who presented medals to the men and women of the force for their service to Barbados and the regional security system and those who reach the rank of warrant officer. The Attorney General says the mandate of the BDF is to defend the island from internal and external threats.
Today's threat community is very complex and demands a multidisciplinary and multinational strategic response. And in treating to these, there must be a whole government approach that leverages the legal, social development, economic, law enforcement, and defense systems. We are challenged with many law enforcement threats, such as terrorism, that require military responses. Natural hazards increase our security vulnerability to all forms of threats. And yes, we need the military to assist us in stabilizing Barbados during a disaster, crisis, or emergency.
We apologize for the low quality of the audio. Mr. Marshall says the BDF has served Barbados well over its 39 years of existence and has always been there to respond to any crisis.
Let me state emphatically, the BDF is not merely an organization with manpower for disaster relief. What the Barbados Defense Force is the defender of our nation. And while some may assert with some enthusiasm that there are no external threats to Barbados, our Barbadian military is responsible for the preservation of a safe and peaceful environment in our homeland, which is conducive for national development.
And again, we do apologize for the quality of the audio. The government is on a mission to ensure there's an entrepreneur in every Barbadian household. That's according to Minister of Youth and Community Empowerment, Adrian Ford. He says initiatives such as the Trust Loan Fund are part of government's efforts to encourage young people to pursue their dreams.
These initiatives are geared towards the encouragement of an entrepreneur in every Barbadian household, so as to maximize income earning potential, stimulate economic activity, and increase the penetration of the Barbados brand into the Caribbean and international markets. It is part of our manifesto plan and promise to produce global citizens, and there is no better avenue than entrepreneurship and the creative economy.
Now, Minister Ford made the comments during the launch of Barbados' Global Entrepreneurship Week 2018. From November 12th to 19th, Barbados will join more than 170 countries as they celebrate entrepreneurs, innovators, and job creators. Among the events planned are a youth symposium, a health and wellness expo, and a speed mentoring session. A suggestion tonight that Barbadians are not entrepreneurial has been dismissed. Director of Strategic Business Services at the Cafil School of Business, Marjorie Wharton, says the majority of businesses in Barbados are indigenous. While there was a time when the majority were started by people over the age of 35, a lot more young people are now seeing entrepreneurship as a viable career option.
What would have happened before, people tended to think if you went into entrepreneurship, you were doing it because you weren't highly educated or you weren't capable. And so often individuals would go find a job and work for a few years and then start their business. But there's a lot more young people who are coming with very high levels of education, training, and capability, and they are choosing immediately after leaving secondary school or university or community college, they're going straight into doing entrepreneurial activities. So that's where a lot of that shift is happening.
Ms. Warden, however, says what Barbadians lack is innovation. That's why most local businesses tend to be more retail-oriented.
Or they are replicants. Somebody has done something, it seems successful, and so suddenly you see 1,000 people doing it as well, as opposed to coming up with something that's new and innovative. And we're starting to see more of that happening because you have a distinct emphasis on asking young people and people who are older and have new ideas as well. But there's been a distinct emphasis on asking people to come up with new and different. And that's where we're starting to see the innovative ideas coming. What it needs now is the continuing financial support, the mentorship, and the training to keep it going.
A local economist says the financial problems facing Barbados are too large to be solved domestically, and going to the International Monetary Fund is an essential part of the solution. Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of the West Indies, Cayfield campus, Dr. Justin Robinson, says Barbados needs an IMF program as it gives the credibility needed to rebuild the economy. His comments came during a Rotary Club of Barbados South meeting.
We need the IMF program to send a signal to key players that we are actually serious about solving the problem. And the second reason I think we need it is that we sort of need that monitoring and that discipline. So what the IMF also brings is that monitoring or discipline. Are you meeting the targets?
Now, Dr. Robinson also welcomed the homegrown plan, the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation, or BERT program, but he believes it's too heavily reliant on revenue collection.
Quite a large part of achieving that primary surplus are increases in revenue, so these are tax increases, user fees, and so on. So outcomes, so how successful we are in collecting that revenue will depend on tax buoyancy. Will people change their behavior? Will spending continue? Will you actually be able to collect those taxes in an economy that could decline?
Plans are afoot to expand the National Independence Lighting Program to include schools and communities across the island. Word of this from Minister of Culture, John King. Now, he was speaking during the annual Sagicor Life Incorporated lighting ceremony in Hero Square. Our Sharika Griffith reports.
From just after 6, the city of Bridgetown was transformed into a sea of blue and yellow lights as Barbados kicked off celebrations for the 52nd year of independence.
3, 2, 1. Lights on.
The evening featured a cohoblopot of performances as many paid tribute to Barbados in dance, music, song, and drama.
But here are ready to celebrate. When you're ready, listen, when I remember the times when we used to wake up early in the morning and clean up.
This year's celebration falls under the theme of building community spirit, embracing our culture. Culture Minister John King says culture must be placed at the forefront of national development.
The Community Independence Celebrations program has over the years created a strong and lasting sense of nationalism and has made us more aware of the true meaning of independence. We therefore must not lose the vision of community participation and must continue to encourage self-help and pride in lifting our country to new heights.
Sagicor Life Inc. has been the official sponsor of the lighting ceremony since it began in 1996. Executive Vice President Marguerite Estwick says the history of Sagicor and Barbados has been inextricably linked for over 175 years.
We are optimistic about the future and we are confident about the strength of the human spirit in spite of all headwinds. We know that this confidence This entrepreneurial drive, ambition, and desire to succeed, and the values-based culture is deeply embedded in the DNA of Barbadians, and therefore we will continue to find the ways to ride the tides of the future.
The city of Bridgetown, roundabouts, and at least one government building in each parish will be illuminated with the national colours for the month of November. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Barbados' top diplomat in Geneva, Chad Blackman, has taken up his post as a permanent representative to the World Trade Organization, the United Nations, and other international organizations in Geneva. Ambassador Blackman met with the WTO Director General, Roberto Azevedo, yesterday during a courtesy call to present his credentials. He says Barbados is committed to the maintenance and improvement of the multilateral trading system. In welcoming the ambassador, Mr. Azevedo noted the challenges to the system designed to regulate global trade and emphasized his appreciation for Barbados' commitment to overcome them. Ambassador Blackman will officially present his credentials to Michael Moeller, Director General of the United Nations Office, today. Now the news, discussions began today between the board and management of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, or CBC, and the workers' representative, the Barbados Workers Union, or BWU, on the restructuring of the state-owned corporation. The corporation's delegation explained the background issues that were driving the restructuring effort and indicated to the BWU side that the size of the financial challenges facing the corporation will necessitate significant job cuts if the corporation is to be a viable entity going forward. The CBC lead negotiator further took the opportunity to conclude discussions on those outstanding issues which are of great importance to those individuals who would be exiting the CBC and which would directly impact the computations of their severance packages. CBC Chairman Ms. Melba Smith had met with staff on October 24th to inform them generally of the pending restructuring. However, the actual specifics of the separation were discussed at this morning's meeting with the BWU. Now, CBC's board is seeking to ensure that the process is conducted in compliance with the Employment Rights Act. Barbados is at risk of not meeting its commitment to reducing premature mortality from chronic non-communicable diseases by 2025. That's according to Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Arthur Phillips. Sharika Griffith reports.
About 70% of all deaths in Barbados are linked to NCDs. And unless there's a radical change in our lifestyles, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Arthur Phillips says Barbados will most likely fail to meet the UN's deadline of a 25% reduction in the next 7 years.
We are projected, if we continue on our current path, not only to miss the 25% reduction, but to increase by 11%. That's the reality on the ground, that we're going in the wrong direction.
Dr. Phillips made the comments during the opening of a health fair at the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology. He commended the initiative, as he says young adults are more likely to engage in risky behavior such as substance abuse, the harmful use of alcohol, and unsafe sexual practices. He believes government and partners like the Institute must create environments so that people find it easier to engage in healthy behavior.
The reality is that we're more likely to walk if there are good sidewalks. The reality is that we're more likely to drink water if there are water coolers. The reality is that we are more likely to buy healthy food if it's affordable. So those things comprise part of the supporting environment.
Meantime, Principal Ian Drakes says there are already plans to improve the initiative for 2019.
Next year, it's going to be bigger and better. We will not have our shoulders down. They will be up. And for one fundamental reason, we will be celebrating 50 years in existence of the Institute of Technology. And that in itself, we have pride in achieving because we have never given up and we've been through many recessionary periods.
More than a quarter of all Barbadians over 25 are living with an NCD. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Well, mathematics teachers have been privy to training in a new model that allows pupils to draw and visualize mathematical concepts to solve problems. The Singapore model was developed in the 1980s, while the country's Ministry of Education developed its own mathematics textbooks. Maths consultant with Yeep Ban Har says the model is working and students are performing well. He provided some insight to model before dozens of mathematics teachers at a Singapore maths workshop. It was organized by the James Street Spikestown Circuit of the Methodist Church.
The students do well. And the students do well because the teachers have been asked, and I believe they do try their best, to use learning theories, to use research-based methods, to use methods that we can guarantee that students can learn mathematics well. And apparently the result shows that, yes, the learning theories are true.
And Dr. Banhar revealed 3 reasons why students have been performing at lower levels.
We get our students to do rote memorization. So rote memorization has been documented to be one thing that when teachers do, students will perform at a low level. The second thing is procedures without understanding. When students do steps and they have no idea what those steps actually mean, they will perform at a low level. And the third one is overemphasis on tedious computation. In Southeast Asia, we confuse between arithmetic and mathematics. We think we are doing maths. We are not. We are doing arithmetic.
An appeal for another vehicle by the nature-based youth development program, Nature Fun Ranch, didn't fall on deaf ears as their wish was granted. The wheels come thanks to the Rotary Club of Barbados West and NASCO Limited. The vehicle was handed over at the Apes Hill Polo Club in St. James. Several partners who contributed were also present for the donation. President of the Rotary Club of Barbados West, Morton Holder, says they realized on donating the first vehicle early in the year that the charity had other needs.
What we then decided to do would be the proceeds of our Golf Classic, that the proceeds of that fundraising will go towards another vehicle for the Nature Fun Ranch. What we have done is committed that we would assist in high priority items to ensure that at-risk youth would always have a place to go when it comes to the Nature Fun Ranch. We have to say thank you once again to the sponsors that have been with us, because we cannot raise funds if we don't have sponsors. So again, Apes Hill, Brydens, and especially normally our title sponsor, Diamonds International, we say thank you.
Now, the donation of the vehicle was welcomed by founder of the Nature Fun Ranch, Corey Lane. He labeled it the newest youth reform and prevention intervention machine.
I am humbled and happy and extremely proud to be part of an initiative where we can have so many agencies, companies, service clubs coming and understanding the value of the Nature Fun Ranch in the Barbadian society. Many of us scoff at the fact that we have these at-risk young people, we see the violence, we say, you know, not about here, and I am proud to be a part of the solution. So a lot of times we talk and we study and we do the consultations and the reports and so on, but we are part of an initiative. You hear the word fun, you may think play, but what we're doing is attracting those hard to reach at-risk young people and turning their lives around. We get at-risk young people and we're turning out citizens of excellence.
In just over a week, soca fans will be able to enjoy the musical offerings of legends in the genre. The opportunity comes as the Eden Lodge Charitable Trust presents the Soca Goes Gold show and dance on November 10th at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyford Center. The event, now in its 2nd year, is being held under the distinguished patronage of Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley. President of the Trust, Dwayne Grisette, says it's a fundraising effort for their annual Christmas program.
We provide feeding for over 300 plus families across Barbados, less fortunate families across Barbados. And the event on Saturday, the 10th of November, will feature from Trinidad and Tobago, the maestro David Rudder, Gypsy, and the Baron. From Barbados is Gabby and Edwin Yearwood. And we will have a lot of surprises and stuff like that for the patrons.
Now, there'll also be a tribute to Winston the Mighty Shadow Bailey. Mr. Grisette says he's grateful for the assistance of the sponsors, which include, among others, The Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, JetBlue, and G4S Secure Solutions Barbados Limited.
G4S is extremely proud to support this initiative, especially the work of the Eden Lodge Charitable Trust, and we are very excited about providing the security and keeping the patrons safe at the event on November 10th.
A senior officer of the Royal Barbados Police Force believes that young people should be given a chance. It's coming from Inspector Roland Cobbler, who is a team leader for the Princess Trust International Program. The trust is a registered charity in Wales. It has a program aimed at assisting at-risk youth between the ages of 16 and 25. He says it is important as gives the force an additional strategy to deal with young people.
In a joint report produced by the United Nations Office, which suggests that the ages between 15 to 19 years are usually regarded as a period in which young people, especially in the Caribbean, are at a high risk of becoming involved in any form of violence. Now, the Prince Trust International Team Program, therefore, has the potential to make a difference in the lives of young people. It is designed to help participants achieve an accredited qualification, complete activity to develop their English and math skills, discover hidden talents and recognize their own strength, boost confidence and motivation, improve personal skills such as communication and teamwork, connect closely with their community through different projects, such as the ones facilitated here at the St. Elizabeth Primary School.
Now, Inspector Cobbler was speaking during the handover of a play park to students of the St. Elizabeth Primary School in St. Joseph. 16 participants of the Princess Trust International Program were instrumental in the renovations to the park. Principal Gloria Ben says she was overjoyed that the children could finally use the facility.
We have thought and we have tried in all kinds of manners to refurbish the school, and we are so happy that the trust was able to come on board and bring that dream to reality. We have watched the young ladies and young gentlemen over the course of the last 2 weeks, and I have seen them really put in some very hard work.